John O'Neill's on the phone right now. John?
Hey, Scott, good morning.
I am bent up and up on the wall, smoke's flying off my car. I bent the frame, knocked the front stub off of it this morning talking about I-70 Speedway. Did you hear that Forrest Lucas looked into buying I-70 Speedway? Did you hear that rumor?
You know what? That would only been God sent if that was true.
Well, I did an interview with him this week and said that he's had many opportunities to buy I-70 and that he actually, I talked to him, considered purchasing I-70 Speedway, but it's too big, too fast, and would cost too much money to bring it back. Really, that was our last chance at getting somebody in here that has the resources to bring up bring that old girl back to life. Doesn't it make you sick that every time you drive by there, John, when you were going to CMS or when you're going out of town, every time you drove by there, does it not almost make you physically sick to your stomach?
It does, and to see that place so run down and dilapidated, and to only imagine that, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was the place to be in motorsports in Kansas City.
Yeah. And what did you win the championship, 2000, 2001?
2001. Lost it by 2 points in 2000. But Jeff Clem had a mechanical failure that knocked us out, and then in 2002, lost it by 2 points to Clint Boyer. So came right down to the wire both times. Almost had it 3 years in a row. But I was very lucky and fortunate to win a championship once at I-70.
How about the days when we were broadcasting the races live on 810 and we had the grudge race? Was that one of the highlights of I-70 when we had the grudge race between you and Jeff?
It was not only a highlight for I-70 and all the fans, but for me as a driver, and I tell people this all the time because now I'm heavily involved in go-kart racing with my son, and I'm helping young drivers come out of the go-kart ranks and then move into the B-mods and make that progression. And the one thing that I always say to them is, it's a shame that you guys never will get to experience what I-70 is all about. Because I went into that racetrack as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old, and I'll be real honest, it scared the tar out of me.
Yeah.
I did not know how I was going to make it around there without crashing.
And let's be fair, John. You probably had two of, there's a lot of horrendous wrecks out there, but you were involved in a couple of them.
You know what? I know I say yes, and one of those will stay with me the rest of my life. And from the brain surgery and the ear operations to recover, but I won a lot of races there.
You won a lot.
Sure was fast.
It was good to you, and you had a great relationship, and the whole Hy-Vee Price Chopper War thing that was going on between you and Clem and all that was such a big deal. John, if somebody was to open it, though, Forrest Lucas, what he said about it being too expensive to race there, we know that place broke a lot of people's wallets, man. I mean, a lot of people spent their life savings out there. A lot of people came and went really quick, thinking that they wanted to race out at I-70 Speedway. Would it be necessary to cut down the banking, maybe take out the wall, shorten up the racetrack? They'd need to do something a little bit different. But we need a pavement track, don't we?
We do. And, Scott, I've said it. When people would make that argument, there's a lot of things that need to be done to the facility to bring it back up to speed, so to speak. It doesn't need to have 30 degrees of banking in it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's knock it down and make it look like Lebanon, and get it to where you can race cars competitively on the track. I think taking the wall out would be first thing, knocking some banking out of it. Anything that we could do to bring that thing back to life. I always say it's a shame, and I wish I could have had that conversation with Forrest Lucas because I would have done my best to sell job on him. It's a shame that Lucas Oil Speedway is 2 hours away from Kansas City, stuck down in Wheatland, Missouri, and I understand exactly why it's there and why he's invested in that location because of I think he owns a really nice ranch nearby. But could you imagine that facility, the Daytona of dirt, right here in Kansas City? Holy cow. I think they'd be standing in line to get into the place.
Yeah.
So settle this debate between Scott and I. Is I-70 Speedway too far gone to bring it back?
No. And my reason is this. It's cyclical. It died before. and it rose out of the ashes in 1988 with that first IMCA national event.
That's right.
And from then, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. You know, our young kids are going to grow up just like me. I have older brothers and sisters that went down and watched my dad race. I never got to see him race at I-70 Speedway. I just always heard about the races being on TV, like on Sunday mornings, and they would re-watch the races from either the previous week or that week.
Right.
You know, it was always, you know, something you heard stories about. I couldn't wait to get there.
Yeah.
You know, I heard the stories of Bill Elliott when he pulled in to race I-70 in a touring event once, refused to race. He said that was too fast, too scary. And, you know, so I think he can. I just think that, you know, it's just going to be, you know, the timing's going to have to be right. And right now, dirt racing is so popular. I think that, you know, the timing's not right. I think in a couple more years when we start to see the dirt stuff kind of taper off and we start to see car counts dwindle, I think that's going to be when the timing's right.
Pavement racing is weak across the board all over the country. It's a known fact. It costs a lot of money to race. And I'll take I-70 as a dirt track if I have to get it back open. I'll take it in any form they want to, you know, what kind of format they want to have out there. If it's dirt, pavement, I don't care. I just want to see our old girl back up and run.
Yeah, you know what? I told somebody, if you could reopen I-70, would you? And I said, yeah, it'd be a dirt track.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I'd make it a dirt track right now is because that's going to assure me the biggest opportunity to have car count and people in the stands when I open the door right now.
Yeah.
They're already sitting here. We've already got our cars, and we know that cars bring people. So who wouldn't want to come out and race I-70?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to John. You know, I've known you a long time, my friend, over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I am a little blown away that you've decided to take on the responsibility of being a promoter, even though it's at a go-kart track, Thunder Lake. You're going to be running that facility this year. How'd that all come about?
Well, it came all about in about 4 days. You know, the current owner, his name is John Fodovich, and John was getting the track ready to open for this upcoming season, and he had a medical scare, you know, something that, you know, really hit close to home, and, you know, health issues just forced him and his wife and his family to reevaluate the amount of time and involvement that it was going to take to operate that track. And physically and in the best, you know, thoughts of his family, they decided that they were going to cancel the season. And they put that post out on Facebook. And Facebook is by far the quickest way. If you want to get something going,
no doubt,
let people know on Facebook. And we were sitting here on a Saturday night watching some racing on television, and lo and behold, my wife's phone lit up and says the 2012 racing season at Thunder Lake is canceled. And our heart sank because we don't have many options in Kansas City to go race, and there's no other weekly tracks that operate. Lasowski, which is in Warrensburg, they're going to run some special shows, but nothing weekly. Mm-hmm. And just the thought of that, all these young kids not having a place to go race, you know, was a real eye-opener to me. And I look at what racing has given not only myself but my family and what it has provided for me. You know, I just felt a deep sense of responsibility that it was my time to step up and make sure that these young kids and adults that participate in the sport had a place to race.
Wow, John. That says a lot about you, bud. And I know it's, you know, we know that motorsports is a family-driven sport. It has been. You've proved that with your dad, and we've seen it from generation to generation, young guys and their parents and everything that goes on in motorsports. But I think no more than go-kart racing, because the kids start at a young age, and there's a lot of influence that goes into these young kids at that age, especially when they're working with their parents and trying to achieve the common goal of winning a go-kart race. The family atmosphere is really at the highest level when it comes to go-kart racing, isn't it?
It is, and, you know, and a lot of kids, you know, work up through the ranks and do become, you know, prosperous, not only as people, but as racers too. You know, we have several of them that we race with weekly that I think are just fantastic individuals and racers. First and foremost is Aaron Morant. Aaron Morant and his family were longtime go-kart racers, national champions, that kid could go anywhere in the country and race and win a race.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke Driscoll, Justin Johnson, Nadler, the list goes on. And you see these guys, and you watch them. Jamie McMurray, all of my guys that I talk to that are closer to my age, are more adult racers. They talk about racing McMurray, and to hear those stories, it's pretty heartwarming.
Yeah. Well, it's great. Now, John, tell us a little bit about the schedule. What's going to happen down there, and is there any changes from the way Thunder Lake was ran in previous years to what you're going to do with it, or is it pretty much the status quo?
Well, obviously, Scott, I'm getting a very late start, so I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel in year one.
Right.
But I am going to take on Thunder Lake with one goal in mind, and that is to improve the environment for our racers. Okay, and first and foremost, the only rule that I'm going to change that's in a written rule is always before, if a cart stalled or the motor died, they were, penalized and asked to leave the track. Their race was done for that night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't like that rule because I want grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, and the racer to be happy when they leave that racetrack, and for them to be in the middle of a race, and because they're a victim of a spin or they're having an issue, I want them to be able to restart. And the rule is being changed where they get one chance at a restart. They do assess. They are assessed a penalty. They do have to go to the rear field just as if they were bringing out a yellow, but they get one shot at a restart. Hopefully, it works out well for them, and they can race back up and get a good finish.
So basically, a two-spin rule is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And before it wasn't. It's just if you had a motor stall on you, your race was over for that night. And I just didn't quite think it was fair for the amount of money that the families were spending to come race, which is probably an average of $100 to $250 of discretionary income. It just isn't smart. We're not out there racing for millions of dollars. We're racing for points. We do have money races. The one thing that we've done, I rely on a lot of my own personal experiences in marketing to add another money race this year, which will be similar. Our biggest race of the year is called the Boogeyman. It's in October, our season-ending event.
Right.
And we'll draw a couple hundred entries to that race. And it's our biggest race at Thunder Lake, and people from the Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. You'll get some come down out of South Dakota a little bit, and that's my goal is for a 4th of July special is to have 2 of those, and eventually grow it to where our money races that we have weekly are offering a little bit more of a payback. So we're excited about it. I'm not changing too much, but I do hope to make the racing more fair and equitable because my goal is to increase cart counts. So I'm kind of taking a lot of experiences from our current engine builders, our local engine builders that we have in this area, and I'm relying on those guys as a source to help equalize the playing field between the old conventional flathead brakes 5-horse engines to these new overhead valve clone motors. And instead of having 2 separate classes, I'm going to combine the 2, and we'll work much like a restrictor plate class. We're going to work it out to where by weight, that we get these things, pretty even on the track, and see what we can do to increase our cart counts.
John, are you looking at one day purchasing this racetrack, or are you just going to operate the track for the current owner for a time, see how it goes? What's the plan there?
Kurt, that's a great question. And I told my wife I'm an idiot for taking this on because I had no idea how much was involved in not only just, the day-to-day operations. I have a full-time job. I have I'm a family dad. I'm doing my own race car stuff, and then I took this on, and I do have aspirations of owning my own track someday. I don't believe Thunder Lake is at a point to where that family would consider selling it. I've never approached him about it, but I do know that John hopes to eventually someday get back to health. And if I'm just promoting it for him and he's the owner, I might be just fine with that. So, my main goal right now is just to get the doors open. And what I'm trying to do is get the people involved that do come out there and support the track, kind of give them some ownership. Say, hey, look, we were really close to not having a racetrack. Yeah, I did step up, but I'm going to need your help. I need people's help to, one, control the cost. I need you to come out and help me, clean this place, keep it mowed. There's a lot of things, going on, and I've got a tremendous amount of support from telephone calls, email, saying, hey, we can't thank you enough. You just let us know where we can help, and we'll be there.
What about your dirt modified? You still going to hang on to that, or what's going to? I know you had Nick Benninger driving your car a little bit last year. What's with your race team?
Yeah, I got. Thank you for asking, because that's probably the reason why I was able to take on the responsibilities at Thunder Lake is because I do have my car in capable hands. I still own a dirt modified, and we have Price Chopper and Johnsonville on board, and several other sponsors. Pennington Seeds we've added, and the list goes on. Nick is going to compete our car weekly on Friday night at Lakeside Speedway for a championship. And with his father and him taking over that responsibility for me of all the maintenance and upkeep, that just opened the door up for me to, step up and do this. But, I think that program is being handed off to very capable hands. Nick's going to do us a great job, and I couldn't have picked a better kid. And I say kid because he's only 27.
Yeah.
Better kid to pass that will over to, and until someday that becomes my own son. And until then, that's Nick's right to have.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, Nick Benninger is a great racer, and I watched him drive, and it seemed like you guys had good chemistry too. When I watched you work with each other, and his guys were part of the team, it seemed like there was a good mesh right there with you guys. So it kind of felt good when I was down there standing around you guys a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that. And it was a very transparent, transition for me. I really thought I was going to struggle, by wanting to be in the car, but it still makes me feel competitive standing outside of it watching. I'm cheering and just having a good old time, spectating, being an owner. It's like I said earlier, I guess it's just kind of passing the torch. And there's no doubt there's a reason why I'm sitting out of the car. It was, medically induced. And it was the best thing for my family at that time. So,
could you race now, John? I mean,
yeah.
medically, physically wise, are you capable of getting back in the car now?
Yeah, I got clearance from my neurologist, Paul Camerata. He is the chief neurologist for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And we did all the concussion tests, and I passed that and got I got the pass, so to speak, or a clean bill of health. But we're sitting there in a very candid conversation, and he looks me right in the eyes, and he said, you're healthy and you're okay to drive. He said, but I don't know how many of those, and those being shots to the head, that you
mm-hmm.
can take.
Right.
He said, we don't know a lot about the brain. We're learning, but you've had 4 major concussions, and you need to give yourself a chance to heal. And bottom line, that resonated right loud and clear. I mean, writings on the wall. I've got an 8-year-old son, beautiful 5-year-old daughter, a loving wife, a mortgage.
Yeah.
And now I got a whole bunch of go-kart racers to take care of.
Yeah. But as a racer, though, man, that's the toughest decision, isn't it? To get out from behind the wheel. I know it's been really tough on me not to race. I am right now chomping at the bit to race something. I didn't get to race once last year. It's just so tough after you've been doing it all your life. We've been doing this a long time, man. It's just hard to give up.
It is. And I've wondered about you because I know how competitive you are. And I said, well, if he's making that transition, maybe I can too. And he's always telling us, helping my friend Rusty Trimble out. And I was like, man, is there any chance I can, jump in your B-Mod just to hot lap it? I just want to, I just gotta
scratch the itch. Got to scratch the itch.
Yeah, and he knows what he thinks I'm playing, but he really doesn't know that I'm real serious.
I've been thinking about, John, maybe I should think about this, but I'm thinking about trying a few laps in a sprint car.
Man, I tell you what.
I might be too old for that, right?
No, I tell you what. When you get out of the car, you text me right away and let me know what that thing was like, because I've always wanted to do that. Yeah. Always wanted to drive a sprint car.
I'm gonna drive something before it's over again, and I know you will too. You're gonna race again. I know this. My gut tells me that you're gonna do something again.
Yeah, I will tell you, heck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not an old man, and I'm not crippled. You know, I'm not handicapped by no means. You know, I just taken the advice of a man much smarter than myself.
Yeah.
You know, take a couple years off or whatever it may be. But, you know, somebody's going to have to teach my kid what to feel, because right now he truly doesn't understand, you know, what it's like to drive a stock car. So somebody's going to have to show him right.
Right. And you know what? You're going to take the role of what your dad. You know, I love your dad, man. He's one of my favorite people in all the world, and always was help to me whenever I needed it, as well as yourself. But it's kind of funny that torch has been handed down to you and your son from your dad and what he did with you.
You know, I would be half the man that I am today without the influence of my father.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I would agree with that.
You know, he was much smarter than I was. He had the time to, you know, investigate. I remember, and just tell you guys a real quick story of back when that transition came after my real bad wreck in '97. We started driving for Tim at Casey Colors,
mm-hmm.
and he gave me the opportunity to get back into a car because I completely lost everything in that wreck.
Right.
And we came back, and we were financially being forced to race local again. And I'll never forget, you know, we got to, I think we were running maybe 3 or 4 races right at the end of the year, and Jeff won all 4 of them. And, you know, we were a top 5 car, but we weren't a winning car. And I remember I looked over at my dad, because the local program was kind of going to be my own program, and Tim still was the touring stuff. And
right.
I remember I looked over at my dad and I said, you know, I don't care what it takes. Figure out what we got to do to win. Period. And man, he was like on a mission, and you know, it wasn't too long before, you know, he started coming back with the goods to, you know, to put that thing back up front. And once we got there, we got that technology, and we got the everything in place to make that car, you know, a dominant car. We ascended right back to the top where we once were, and you know, and we stayed there for quite some time. And you know, I'll leave that with you know, a lot of memories and a lot of wins, a lot of good times down from I-70 Speedway.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. You know, we talk about I-70 Speedway, that in my mind, and I'm not saying this because you're there on the telephone, but I think you and Jeff Clem probably the 2 biggest stars that I-70 Speedway had in its glory days. And
you know,
I feel proud about that.
Well, you got to throw in, I mean, in the 90s, there's no doubt that was the case. But
right.
You go back like in the 70s, you've got Terry Bivens and Dave Wall and
sure.
the list
I'm talking the late
Freddie
years.
Whistler. Yeah, but in the 90s, there's no doubt.
Well, you know, I'm glad to be associated, you know, with Jeff and our good friends. And we were arch rivals. People don't know that we grew up less than a block away from each other as kids. And, he lived at the top of the street. I lived at the top of 85th Street. He lived at the top of 86th Street. There was one street, Troop Avenue, that separated our 2 houses. And you know, to you know, have one of the 2 most elite drivers come out of Kansas City, and throw another name in there. Aaron Daniel was my next door neighbor. So
no doubt.
He had 3 standout drivers, you know, for this area, all lived within a block of each other. One thing, if you guys have time, I'd like to
sure.
give you my schedule.
Yeah, well, we were going to get into it. You bet.
April 14th and 15th is going to be a Saturday, Sunday. We're going to have a cleanup day at Thunder Lake, and that's for all the go-karters that, you know, want to come out and participate. One, they can fill out their paperwork. They can pick out a pit spot, but mainly is to help chip in. We're going to do some weed eating, some grass mowing, some painting and all that throughout the facility. And then our series opener is going to be May 5th, and we've got the Mocan series. That's a traveling kart series. That tours through, and we hope to have a really big car count for for that particular night, and looking forward to all of our regulars participating in that. And then each night that we have a scheduled race, we have a money night for one class. And what that does is that pays back, so the racers actually get a little bit to go home with that particular night. And starting July 7th will be the first money race, and that is going to be the 4th of July Spectacular, and that official name will come out here shortly. If any of our racers or potential racers that are listening to us would like to come up, they can jump on the website at www.thunderlakespeedway.com. They can check Facebook, for our schedule, and all they have to do is go find the Thunder Lake Speedway page, and they can get all that information. My wife's very diligent at trying to keep all that updated and current, and here we go.
And we don't have to give directions to the racetrack. Everybody knows where it's at.
Joy,
and it's easy to find.
Yeah, that's true. It's an easy play. And now you probably work hand in hand with Lakeside. You've always had a good relationship with Mark Olson. Is there some way that you can do some cross promotions over there?
Well, one of the first person that I called was Mark Olson. And he goes, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
and I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, maybe
and,
so.
Because I asked him, because Lakeside, it's kind of like big brother, little sister, and Lakeside has been very gracious in offering us up the access to their water supply, so we'll be able to get water to keep our track watered and all of that. They've also allowed us the opportunity to bring go-karts over to the track on a Friday night while the races are going on, so they can see, the spectators and fans can actually see what one of these race cars look like. They're not, a cart that you're going to go down and drive down at, in the Ozarks or
right. A little more sophisticated, right?
These are very sophisticated. I'm quite impressed. The chassis that my son races, that's all robotic welded, all CNC bent, and it's amazing. It's got caster and camber adjustments in it. You can put trail and lead in the rear axles through a pill system. The motors, with the option of running the clone now, you can get into a clone engine for around $500. Find a used cart, so you're at the track racing for less than $2. That's hard to do in any sport. It's a great sport for which grandparents, parents, or even young adults can get involved with at a very low cost. Come out and actually get to feel the exhilaration. I love racing go-karts. It's just like driving pavement, Scott, and I will extend this. I own my own cart. One night, if you ever would like to come out and race against these guys, just to put on the helmet one time, so you can kind of, if you're ever talking to anybody about it, you can say, you know what? I've done a lot of racing, and that was by far one of the most physically exerting things that I've ever done.
Old dude, you might need a little bit bigger seat for old dude to fit in there, bud.
Hey, we have a class. It's called the Super Heavies. My best friend.
I'm in then. Yeah.
We have you, buddy. We would love to have you. My best friend is Mike Seminar. He's been my pit crew, my crew chief for the last 5 years. And Mike's super heavy material, and he weighs about 245 pounds. So when he gets in that cart, total weight's over 420. And
does he compete?
With some young guys. It's all about momentum. It's all about being smooth and fast and having a good setup on there. And so you're more than welcome. That offer's out there.
Low horsepower means don't scrub speed. We learned a lot about that in the days at I-70 with those two barrels, didn't we, bud? I got to ask you, John, go-kart racing was a key element to your return after your bad wreck, your last wreck, that when you had the part failure at I-70 Speedway and you hit the wall down there in 1 and 2, and that was the last really big crash that you had that I remember. Go-kart racing up there at the Liberty go-kart track on the road course, that was a key component to you getting back behind the wheel, wasn't it?
Without a doubt, Scott, because I couldn't get released to drive a street car, by my neurologist.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't even imagine, what could have, transcended had I not ever been able to even just do that, because that would have made it extremely difficult for me to even make a living. Not being able to transport myself back and forth to work.
Mm-hmm.
I felt good. I felt like I could do it. but I was still having, problems with double vision. The karting, I did a lot of things to train to get my eye strength back and get my eyesight back to where it wasn't having the problems with, like I said, the double vision. Once I went out and I started doing it, it took me a little bit. One, I was just physically, weak, so the go-kart really kind of got me into shape rather quickly.
Right.
I'm very grateful, and that's probably why I'm still here, because,
No doubt.
I have a lot to give back to the sport, and it's neat.
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit of identity as well.
All right. Well, John, we appreciate you taking the time to be on with us. We got Kelly Shyrock on the phone here with us. We're going to talk to him for a few minutes. If anybody wants to find out information, they need to go to the website or to Facebook. Is that correct?
That is correct. www.thunderlakespeedway.com.
Okay, John. Good luck with that, bud. You need anything, let us know.
Thanks, John.
Kirk, thank you both.
All
I
right.
can't say thanks enough for what you guys do for all of us.
Yep. You've always been an asset and a help to us as well, so that's a two-way street. Thanks again, John.
Pardon, thank you.
All right, buddy.
That's John O'Neill, the new promoter at Thunder Lake Speedway.